Memphis. Joining us on the program, not from Memphis, but from Tennessee, Congressman Mark Green. He represents Tennessee's 7th Congressional District. Thank you for joining us in Memphis today. How are you?
Great. How are you guys?
We're doing well. Thank you again for joining the program. We want to talk about what's happening globally. And while the world really watches Ukraine and Russia, a real distraction that really does have consequences globally, it's taking attention away from what's happening between the West and Iran. And it's something you've been staying on. And we saw earlier in the week, the administration really trying to restore the nuclear deal. This has been going on for some time, but the administration says Biden will, quote, and I'll read this from an official, will make a decision on whether to re-enter the deal based on what's in the best interest of the American security. But you say renewing this deal, catering to terrorists, is catastrophic and it's a deadly move. Break this deal down for our listeners this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. So, both Obama, Biden, and now Biden, Harris, both of those administrations, for some reason, thought that the Iranians were people who would sign an agreement and keep the agreement and didn't need to be inspected. They really believed, I think, that it would be better for the world. Tragically, as is the case with most Democrat leaders of the last several decades, they don't understand the difference between a good guy and a bad guy. And Iran is very clearly an enemy to the United States. They don't comply with international agreements. They violated the current agreement, the one that was written under Biden-Harris, on two different and very specific and important issues, particularly ballistic missile development and production, and then uranium levels, how high they took the uranium enhancements. So once again, this president seems to see that as the shiny object, and he's just got to get a deal with Iran. And so they're willing to do things like, free up $7 billion worth of assets, allow Iran to have close to $100 billion of foreign currencies, to increase their production of oil. And that would put another $50 billion into the hands of a terrorist state. These guys in Iran are, they're the ones that are attacking Saudi Arabia and UAE with rockets from the Houthi rebels. They are, bombing American soldier facilities in Iraq and in Syria. They just recently sent missiles at a U.S. consulate in Erbil, and all the while this president wants to do it. The real crazy thing about it right now is, in this deal, it allows Russia to actually build a nuclear power plant in Iran to the tune of $10 billion. Meanwhile, we're, stair-stepping sanctions against Russia. So it makes no sense. It's counterintuitive to common sense, and but the president seems hell-bent on getting it done.
Yeah, I think the question, thinking as someone in our audience right now, is you tell us why you think the administration wants this deal so bad. We saw a report earlier this week that says Biden now considering moving the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps off the foreign terrorist organization list.
Yeah.
You tell me, what do you think it is for this administration that they want to re-enter this deal?
I can't come up with a good reason. You could, I guess, suppose that the increase in their oil production would have a decrease in supply or in price. But the other day, I think it was just yesterday, oil got back down to pre-invasion levels. It was in the 90s, which is what it was before Putin invaded Ukraine. It's really, I don't get it, and no one I talk to does either.
And you mentioned Russia and essentially them strengthening their nukes in this deal. Now, you say Russia and China will use this deal to strengthen their nuclear and military trade ties with Iran. Can you speak on that just a little bit more?
Here's the interesting thing. Russia has been allowed by the president to be part mediator in the discussions with Iran, which again makes no sense whatsoever, as the president actually called Putin a war criminal 2 days ago. Now, the Secretary of Defense yesterday waffled on that, which I think is crazy. But, when you're bombing a maternity ward, that's against the laws of land warfare, the Geneva Convention, and therefore, consistent with the accusation or indictment or charge of war criminal. But they're actually letting the Russians be an intermediary between us and Iran, which is just insane. But the financial stuff is that would allow trade, and it would also allow, again, a Russian company to construct a $10 billion nuclear power plant. So it just boggles the mind.